Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I don't know about the rest of you, but every once in a while, General Hospital gives me a storyline that makes me sit back in my chair, fold my arms, and say, well, this isn't going to end the way anybody thinks. I've been watching soaps for a long time, and one lesson I've learned is that people can hide the truth for a little while, but they almost never escape the consequences. That's exactly the feeling I'm getting as I watch everything unfold between Brook Lynn, Chase, Willow, and now Lucy getting tangled right in the middle of it. I'll be honest, I understand why Brook Lynn feels threatened. Anyone who's ever fought to protect a marriage knows that fear can make people do things they normally wouldn't. But there's a big difference between protecting what you love and trying to destroy someone else's reputation. Once you cross that line, you're no longer defending yourself, you're gambling with everyone else's trust. And from where I'm sitting, that's exactly what Brook Lynn is doing. What worries me even more is that she seems convinced she's the smartest person in the room. That's usually when trouble starts in Port Charles. She believes that if Willow looks dishonest enough, Chase will naturally pull away from her. Maybe that's the plan. Maybe she thinks one carefully planted lie will solve all her problems. But life has a funny way of turning those plans upside down. I've seen enough stories over the years to know that lies have a habit of growing legs, and sooner or later, they always come running back toward the person who created them. Now, let's talk about Lucy for a minute, because goodness gracious, bringing her into this scheme may end up being Brook Lynn's biggest mistake of all. If there's one thing I've learned about Lucy Coe, it's that she's loyal only as long as loyalty benefits her. The minute the deal stops working in her favor, she's ready to write a brand new chapter. That's not necessarily because she's evil. It's just who Lucy has always been. She survives by staying one step ahead, and she knows exactly how valuable information can be. That's why I nearly laughed when I realized Lucy isn't just carrying Brook Lynn's secret, she's holding on to leverage. There's a huge difference. She helped point the finger at Willow over the accident involving Curtis and Jordan, but she also knows Brook Lynn had been drinking that night. That's not a small detail you simply forget. That's the kind of secret people lock away until the perfect moment comes along. And if Lucy doesn't get the control of deception she's after, who's to say she won't suddenly decide Chase deserves to know the truth? Honestly, that possibility feels more realistic to me than Brook Lynn successfully keeping everything under wraps. Lucy has never been known for staying quiet when speaking up could benefit her. The more I think about Chase, the more I believe he's the real wild card in all of this. Chase has always tried to do what's right, even when it hurts him personally. That's one of the reasons so many fans respect him. He isn't perfect, but his moral compass usually points in the right direction. So I keep asking myself one question: what happens if he discovers that his own wife deliberately manipulated events just to make Willow look guilty? I don't think Chase would simply shrug his shoulders and pretend none of it happened. That just isn't who he is. In fact, I think finding out the truth would break his heart more than make him angry. Betrayal cuts a lot deeper when it comes from someone you trust completely. He could forgive mistakes, he could probably even forgive jealousy, but planning a setup, dragging other people into it, and allowing an innocent person to take the blame, that's a whole different story. Now, here's where things become especially interesting to me. Willow hasn't exactly been winning any popularity contests lately. She's made decisions that frustrated plenty of people, myself included. There have been moments when I wanted somebody to call her out for her behavior. But here's the thing: being flawed doesn't mean someone deserves to be framed. Those are two completely different issues. If Brook Lynn expects Chase to cheer while Willow gets unfairly blamed, I think she's badly misreading the man she married. And isn't that the cruel irony? Brook Lynn's entire plan is supposed to keep Chase emotionally distant from Willow. Instead, it may accomplish the exact opposite. If Chase believes Willow was falsely accused, his protective side could come rushing back. That's just human nature. Sometimes people don't reconnect because they're in love. Sometimes they reconnect because one person needs defending, and compassion opens doors nobody expected. I've always believed the biggest danger isn't the original lie. It's everything people have to do afterward just to keep that lie alive. One cover-up leads to another. More people get pulled in. More secrets pile up. Before long, nobody remembers where the truth even started. Brook Lynn may think she's one step ahead today, but I have a feeling she's actually standing on very thin ice. And if there's one thing I've learned after years of watching General Hospital, it's this. Whenever someone believes they've controlled every piece of the chessboard, that's usually the exact moment the game slips completely out of their hands. Folks, I wouldn't be surprised one bit if this entire scheme ends with Brook Lynn losing the very man she was so desperate to hold on to, while Willow walks away looking more like the victim than anyone ever expected. The part that really keeps turning over in my mind is Chase himself. Right now, he has no idea just how dark this whole situation really is. As far as he knows, Willow is simply another woman caught in the middle of Brook Lynn's accusations. What he doesn't know is that Willow has her own shocking secret. She's the one who shot Drew, and she's keeping him hidden while he's lying there unconscious. That's the kind of truth that could change everything overnight. But here's the funny thing about timing. If Chase discovers Brook Lynn's scheme before Willow's secret comes to light, he's almost certainly going to side with Willow. That's just the kind of man he is. He believes in protecting people who have been treated unfairly, and if he realizes his own wife manipulated evidence or allowed lies to spread, he'll see Brook Lynn as the one who crossed the line. The tragedy is that Chase could end up trading one painful truth for an even bigger one. He may walk away believing Willow deserves his support, only to learn later that she has been hiding a crime of her own. Talk about being caught between a rock and a hard place. Sometimes in Port Charles, the person who looks innocent today becomes tomorrow's biggest surprise. I've been thinking about whether Brook Lynn really deserves to lose Chase, and I have mixed feelings. Do I think she's acting out of insecurity? Absolutely. You can almost feel how terrified she is of losing the man she loves. Fear has a way of making otherwise reasonable people act in ways they later regret. But fear doesn't excuse everything. At some point, every one of us has to decide whether we're going to solve our problems with honesty or manipulation. Brook Lynn chose manipulation, and that's the decision that may cost her the most. She didn't trust Chase enough to let him make his own judgments. Instead, she tried to control what he believed. In my experience, that's one of the fastest ways to destroy a relationship. A marriage can't survive very long when one partner starts deciding what the other should or shouldn't know. Then there's little Phoebe, and I have to say my heart goes out to that child more than anyone else in this storyline. Every adult around her seems wrapped up in secrets, jealousy, revenge, and power struggles. Meanwhile, she's the one who deserves stability the most. Brook Lynn and Chase both dreamed of giving her a loving home, and I hate the thought that all this chaos could rob her of that chance. If this marriage falls apart, the adoption could become one more casualty. Lawyers, custody questions, emotional battles, none of that is what Phoebe needs. Sometimes adults become so focused on winning against each other that they forget who's really paying the price. If the writers are setting up a heartbreaking custody fight, I have a feeling it could become one of the most emotional stories we've seen in quite some time. That's why I think this whole mess is heading toward a reckoning for everyone involved. Brook Lynn may lose the husband she was so desperate to keep. Chase may discover that both women have betrayed his trust in completely different ways. Willow may escape one accusation, only to face an even bigger one when Drew's story finally comes to light. And poor Phoebe could become the innocent victim caught in the crossfire. I've watched General Hospital for too many years to believe anything is ever that simple. Around Port Charles, today's hero becomes tomorrow's suspect, and today's victim sometimes turns out to be hiding the biggest secret of all. But if you ask me, this story isn't really about who's right or who's wrong anymore. It's about whether any of these people can find their way back to honesty before they lose the things that matter most. And right now, I'd say that's looking like one mighty steep hill to climb.